The land had been in my family for 3 generations. 400 acres of rolling pasture, split by a slow creek that glimmered in the afternoon sun. My father used to say, "This land doesn't just feed us, Jake. It remembers us." I never forgot that. So when he passed, I kept every inch of it alive. Fixed fences myself, fed cattle before sunrise, even turned down buyers who called it prime development property. To me, it wasn't property. It was blood and history woven into soil. Then came the letter, a polite white envelope with the words Homeowners Association stamped in the corner, something we'd never had out here. Inside, they claimed zoning adjustments had turned a part of my grazing land into residential potential. I thought it was a joke. Until 1 week later, survey trucks started rolling in. Men in hard hats marking my fence posts with orange paint. They told me, "Don't worry, sir, it's just a subdivision project, 41 new homes planned." I told them this was a working cattle ranch. They laughed and said, "Not for long." That night I sat on the porch with a mug of black coffee staring out across the fields. My herd grazed quietly under the moonlight. The hum of crickets mixed with the distant sound of bulldozers. They were carving into what was once sacred ground. I made myself one promise. If they were going to build a neighborhood on my pasture, they were going to learn what living next to a ranch really means. Within a month, my peaceful mornings turned into a construction zone. The sun came up to the sound of saws and diesel engines. Where my cattle used to graze, men in bright vests and white helmets marched like they owned the place. Every time I asked for permits, they said, "Talk to the HOA board." Problem was, I never joined any HOA. They'd formed their own, a collection of city. Folks who bought into a country lifestyle they didn't understand. They called the place Silver Ridge Estates. I called it a bad dream. They built cookie-cutter houses right up to my fence line, their backyards opening straight into my field. I tried being civil at first, offered to help them put up a stronger fence, told them not to feed or pet the cattle. But most of them treated me like I was the problem. The HOA president, Marjorie Cole, a woman in a bright suit and an even louder attitude, made it clear she didn't like me. She came by one afternoon with a clipboard and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Mr. Morrison," she said, "your livestock is causing aesthetic concerns. Our homeowners don't like the smell or the noise." I stared at her for a second. "Ma'am, this is a cattle ranch. You built your homes next to it." She gave a fake laugh. "Well, maybe you could consider selling the remaining land. We'd love to expand the community." That was the first time I realized they didn't just want to live next to my land. They wanted to own it. Weeks went by and small mistakes started happening. A few of my fences were cut. Feed bags went missing. My cattle were spooked by fireworks during one of their parties. Then I got a letter from the county. The HOA had filed a complaint, claiming my herd was a public safety risk. That's when I stopped being polite. I walked into their next board meeting, held in a half-finished clubhouse with folding chairs and cheap coffee. Everyone went quiet when I stepped in. Marjorie gave me that same smirk. "Jake, this is a private meeting." "Yeah," I said. "And this is private land." They didn't laugh. I told them to stop trespassing, stop harassing, and stay behind their shiny little fences. I could see the embarrassment on their faces. City people don't like being told no. That night, my phone buzzed. A neighbor texted me a picture. HOA trucks unloading soil and decorative plants inside my property line. That was their mistake. Because the next time they crossed that fence, I wasn't just going to talk. A week later, the HOA threw a grand Welcome to Silver Ridge party. You could hear the music from half a mile away, country pop blaring through speakers, fairy lights strung between unfinished houses. I stayed on my porch, beer in hand, watching headlights snake up the gravel road. Then I saw something that made my jaw tighten. A line of SUVs parked right along my fence. Some of the guests were climbing over it to take selfies with my cattle, like it was some sort of petting zoo. I called out, "Hey, that's private property." They laughed. One woman even waved her wine glass at me and said, "Lighten up, cowboy." That's when I noticed Marjorie again. Red dress, camera-ready smile, standing under a big white tent giving a speech. She was telling everyone about the community's expansion plans. Behind her, on a projector screen, was a map of my land. That was the moment I knew they weren't going to stop. So I decided to teach them a lesson they wouldn't forget. The next morning, I called the sheriff's office. Asked about the fence line, the permits, the trespassing. Turns out, every single complaint I'd gotten from the HOA was invalid. But their construction, their landscaping, all illegally extended onto my side. I spent the next few days with a surveyor and a buddy from the county office. We marked every inch of that boundary in bright orange paint. Then I made a few calls. By the following weekend, a team of my ranch hands and a couple of off-duty deputies helped me set up a new gate, a reinforced steel one with a no trespassing sign the size of a billboard. And then I installed something extra. A motion-triggered alarm system, and behind that gate, my K9 unit, a German shepherd named Ranger. Ranger was trained for patrol work. Calm, loyal, but fierce when someone crossed a line. 2 nights later, Marjorie decided to push her luck. I wasn't home, had gone into town for supplies, but my cameras caught everything. At around 9:45 p.m., she parked her SUV near the gate, flashlight in hand. She tried to squeeze through the gap between the posts. The moment her foot hit my property, the floodlights came on. Ranger didn't bark. He just stood there, low growl, ears pinned back, watching her freeze in the beam of white light. She screamed. Tried to back away, but her heel caught the fence wire, and she fell. By the time I got home, the deputies were already there. They'd seen the motion alert and came to check. Marjorie was fine, just scared half to death. But the HOA's illusion of control? Gone. Next morning, I posted the footage to our town's Facebook page with a simple caption, "Private property means private." The video spread like wildfire. By afternoon, half the county had seen it, and by evening, every HOA member was too embarrassed to show their face. That weekend, a realtor's sign appeared in front of Marjorie's house. She was moving out. Marjorie didn't go quietly. 2 weeks after she listed her house, I got a letter, certified, fancy paper, stamped by the HOA's lawyer. They were accusing me of creating a hostile environment and endangering residents with aggressive animals. I laughed out loud. My dog was in his own yard. Their president broke into mine. But that's how HOAs work. Twist the truth until it looks like they're the victims. So I called my attorney. A quiet, silver-haired man named Grant, who'd been dealing with land disputes for 30 years. He looked over the letter, chuckled, and said, "They picked the wrong rancher." He drafted a response, short, sharp, and devastating. We countered with a trespassing claim, complete with time-stamped footage, property maps, and copies of the HOA's own illegal landscaping plans. Within days, the tone changed. Their lawyer stopped calling. The board went silent. Then came the best part, the county inspection. Turns out, Marjorie and her HOA friends had built decorative fountains and fences beyond their property lines. The county issued fines, heavy ones, enough to make their so-called community upgrades crumble overnight. A month later, Marjorie's house was sold. The new owners? A retired veteran and his wife, quiet folks who waved instead of complained. The HOA meetings stopped happening altogether. The fancy sign at the neighborhood entrance faded and eventually fell over in the wind. As for me, I got my peace back. Every morning I'd take Ranger out to the fence line. He'd sniff the air, tail up, proud of the ground he guarded. Sometimes I'd see the old HOA welcome sign lying in the ditch, cracked, rusted, half buried in mud. A reminder that respect isn't something you demand with paperwork. It's something you earn. I still get letters now and then. People asking for advice on dealing with their own nightmare HOAs. I tell them the same thing. Stand your ground. Know your rights, and never let anyone bully you on your own land. Because sometimes, peace doesn't come from giving in. Sometimes it comes from fighting back and winning with the truth. Months passed, and life on the ranch settled back into its old rhythm. Quiet mornings, the hum of the wind through the pines, the steady sound of Ranger's paws on the porch. But something had changed in me. Not bitterness and just clarity. I used to think peace meant avoiding conflict. keeping your head down, letting small things slide. But I learned that sometimes peace demands a line in the sand. You can't let people walk all over what you've built, no matter how polite they seem when they do it. One evening, I stood by the gate, the same one Marjorie had once tried to claim as community property. The sunset threw gold across the fields, and Ranger sat beside me, ears up, watching it all like he knew we'd earned this quiet. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about a nosy neighbor or a power-hungry HOA. It was about standing up, not out of anger, but self-respect. Ranger let out a low bark, like he was agreeing. I laughed and patted his head. We did all right, boy. We did all right. As the light faded, I thought about all the people dealing with the same nonsense. The rules, the fines, the fake smiles. And I hoped that maybe, just maybe, hearing this story would remind them that they're not powerless. Because the truth is, it's not the HOA that defines your home. It's the people who live there, the hands that build it, the dog that guards it, the quiet pride that refuses to be bullied out. And sometimes, the only way to protect your peace is to fight for it.